In what ways does your media product use, develop, or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? In terms of media products, conventions refer to the widely recognised way of doing something. My film challenges conventions due to the genre being a postmodern thriller. I have included psychological aspects as well as the idea of maybe a romance occurring, which then causes a difference of conventions such as fast-paced shots during the thriller sections and the long edits when the two teenagers appear to be forming an attachment to one another. By achieving this, it highlights the eccentric way I have edited my film using different conventions. In addition, I believe my film challenges aspects of real media products due to my narrative. Bremner's has a long linear narrative which complicates the audience as well as their being unaware when the scenes occur, which challenges the stereotypical storyline of there being a beginning, a middle and an end. However, because my film is postmodern, it develops the idea that it can be interpreted in any way and influenced heavily by other media texts. This, I feel, was important to keep the audience interested. The three main media texts which influenced me was Toy Story 2, the play The Crucible, and the popular TV series American Horror Story. Toy Story 2 impacted how I wanted the music to be a contrapuntal to the scene, so that the audience were confused as to how they feel they should interpret my film. The Crucible is about people who are worried about the devil taking over their town, and therefore believe by including characters' names who are accused of being the devil for the Doctor within my film will help the audience have a guess on her characteristics. Finally, I thought American Horror Story would be good to imitate a scene from, as the TV series is postmodern itself and is known for captivating the audience and letting them have their own interpretation. I did this so the audience would be active, which means that the audience are more than passive observers who engage specifically with the text and draw out what they believe to be the ideology. How effective is the combination of your main product and ancillary texts? I wanted to make sure my ancillary texts, including a poster and film review, complemented my film. Firstly, I started work on my poster, where I considered the dark theme which was shown throughout, of a teenage girl who is entering a psychiatric unit for an unknown reason. I wanted to emphasise this sinister idea. I took many different photographs to make the poster as mysterious and creepy looking as possible by using lighting to my advantage. The main photos are of the Doctor showing large bags in comparison to the character of Rosie's skin looking young and fresh to contrast from their characteristics in my film. I put the photos of both characters together to look like the top half of the face was a mask, representing how society tries to ignore disability's existence and ignore the fear that disability gives. By also including the Doctor's face in Rosie's eye, highlights that all ideas going through Rosie's mind is whether the Doctor is out to get her or not. Furthermore, I used the same Toy Story logo titling so that the poster had a clear link with my film, as well as including postmodern aspects to match Bremner's. I broke the frame boundary by positioning the text in untraditional places, such as some text being completely on its side and the tagline being in a swirl pattern which is unusual. The overall look of my poster was quite disturbing and weird looking, which relates to the theme of my film. I wanted my film review to feel slightly separate to my other two texts, so that it would seem like someone else's creation and view. I tried to comment on my film as if I was a totally different person by deliberately distancing myself. I used many photos for my film review, so that it also had the postmodern feel by sticking to traditional conventions of symmetry, whilst the picture too breaking the boundaries by the Doctor's hand in the way of the text so that the wording had to be placed around it. Moreover, I selected a photo with Rembrandt-style side lighting for the background so that the review had more of a 3D feel. I feel that both my ancillary tasks fit well with my target audience of late teens to those in their 20s, as they have a formal yet young look to them. Finally, I included social network insights in the review, which is used by my target audience's age range, so they can connect with each other and promote the film themselves online. What have you learned from your audience feedback? To get an accurate idea, I conducted a variety of feedback procedures. This consisted of questionnaires which I handed out to individuals with varying ages. Questions asked the participants what they would mostly like to see in a media text, along with what factors they prefer in terms of genre and postmodern aspects. Another similar task was a communication task with audience, in which I filmed a mixture of people, all different ages, to a number of questions referring to their own film preferences. I thought this would be the most efficient and beneficial thing to do, as the individuals would have to respond spontaneously, so would be more honest in their answers. This taught me the effect of age when watching the film and how much control the audience had over the direction of the film, meaning how open to interpretation the storyline is. I found that the older audience were less keen on an open interpretation and ending of the film and a non-linear narrative. The young audience seemed to be a lot more keen on the postmodern aspects included, and it appeared that these individuals were much more interested in having their own take on why disability was portrayed and being able to have their own ideology. For these reasons, I decided to aim my film at a younger audience of late teens to mid-20s, as I believe that those people would appreciate my creation the most and find it more engaging.
I think it's good that there's an open ending.
During my editing process, I have invited my own peer group to look at my film to give me feedback on what they thought could be improved. This was helpful to progress my film in order to give the audience exactly what they wanted to interest and keep their attention. There was a comment which was mentioned a lot, which was that the scene where the doctor was serving the pills was long-winded. It was suggested that I could cut this section down and include more cutaways in the flashback scene of Rose entering the psychiatric unit. All these comments were taken on board as I wanted to make sure my film kept my audience interested and engaged throughout. Another statement suggested was to make James's monologue more disturbing to listen to, so that it contrasted from the words being spoken to match the contrapuntal music used.
She's one of the best human beings that I've ever met.
I was very pleased with the outcome of this scene, as I believe that the sound is the most important aspect of film. How did you use media technologies in the constructions and research, planning and evaluation stages? During my research and planning, I used many different software and technologies so that I could be as creative as possible and develop my ideas in an interesting way. In particular, I used software such as iMovie, SlideShare, Scribd, Prezi, GoAnimate and MyMaple. Using these, I created small Web 2.0 presentations before embedding them onto my blog to make it more attention-grabbing. Any of the software or technologies that I couldn't embed onto my film, I used QuickTime to screen record the presentations and putting it onto YouTube and embedding it in this way. One piece of software which was particularly engaging was MyMaple, because it was new to me and was excellent to use because it helped me organise my ideas and thoughts for my film. It has a variety of colours and fonts that can be used and has the ability to explore around the mind map by zooming in. Prezi was another exciting tool I used, as I was able to select a theme to the presentation so it could be thrilling to watch before including words, pictures and transitions. In terms of film construction, I used Final Cut Express mostly. However, to finish the film off, I used Final Cut Pro in order to neaten everything up. In Final Cut Express, I got rid of all outtakes that weren't needed for my film, then layered the clips with sound and other videos for fast cuts and tension-building noise. I manipulated the speed of some clips by changing the speed levels, as well as adding effects such as min, max and scrape, as well as cropping and changing the contrast of some clips. I moved on to Final Cut Pro to add titles to the end and include an edit to make my flashback scene look as if it had been shot in the past. I did most of my editing on Final Cut Express, however, my audio creation was with GarageBand, which is where I played around with the pitch and frequency. Nevertheless, I have very limited music ability and therefore didn't use this software very much. My main music track was created and recorded straight onto the Mac by my friend James Miller, with me directing how I wanted it to feel and sound. I also used the sound sharing website called Sound Bible for sound effects such as the heartbeat and TV static. My evaluation has all been created on Final Cut Pro using clips from my film, QuickTime screen recordings, screenshots, GoAnimate, Prezis and a green screen. In comparison to Final Cut Express, this was much more simple to use, especially with the Kia tool to complete my green screen challenge.